where you belong. Give it strength to carry on. Open your heart, set your mind at ease. Live your life and you'll be free. We're gonna rise, rise, rise. Keep on rising, rise, rise, rise. Keep on rising, rise, rise.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Toon review for this morning's press conference reaction. My name is Paul, and I'm joined as usual by Billy Bob for the reaction to what Eddie Howe has had to say to the media this morning ahead of the massive game against Arsenal at St James's Park tomorrow. And of course, you can listen to the commentary with us tomorrow from midday. We start match day live and 12:30 kickoff, of course. But as usual, if you do enjoy the show, please hit that like button. And if you're new to the channel, why not come and join this fantastic community by hitting the subscribe button? It is completely free. And also, you can support the channel in the usual two ways, by membership, which is the join button just underneath us. And of course, super chats are available. And that is the $ underneath the live chat, which of course will guarantee your comment to be read out live on the show. Good morning, Billy.
Good morning, and good morning to all you out there in Viewerland.
And how are we down in Coventry World this morning?
It's very dull out here, very grey.
Yeah.
Typical Coventry day, actually.
Yeah, winter's kicking in, matey. As soon as Halloween's over, it's now just grim, basically. But hey, we're here to keep the smiles on people's faces on the Toon review, and that's what we will continue to do. So he spoke to the media, Billy. We both watched it, and you know, some decent questions asked today, apart from one from Luke Edwards, which, you know, you're looking trim, Eddie. Have you got a new fitness regime? Eddie doesn't want to talk about his sodden fitness regime. He wants to talk about the football. Come on. But I just noticed, by the way, Luke Edwards has blocked me on social media.
Has he now?
Oh, I'm devastated, Billy.
I wonder why that is.
Well, I wonder, but you can understand. I'm devastated, obviously. It took me a long time to get over, but never mind. But as usual, some decent questions for one, and I think focusing on a few players. I think a few giveaways, Billy, as to who might be involved tomorrow.
Yes, this was certainly one that I actually predicted last night. I just think he doesn't need much excuse to pick this certain player. But it's got probably a valid one for tomorrow. I think the amount of time that spoke over set pieces, for instance, might indicate who's going to be playing. Yeah.
Now, obviously, he said really pleased with the response from the players against Chelsea. I thought our performance was very good, and we got the result for that performance. 2 good goals and a clean sheet. Winning always makes you feel better about everything. Now, we did say that, Billy, of course, last night when we were getting the when we get the predictions for the game on last night's preview show. A lot of confident Newcastle fans, and saying that 3-1 win and the 2-0 wins here and there. It's amazing what a result can do, given that they haven't, the performances in the Premier League certainly. Yes, they're steadily improved, but they're not where Eddie wants them to be yet. But that result just inspires fans.
Yes, it does. I mean, it was the way we did it as well. It was vociferous, vicious, ferocious, all those words, pressing, intensity. And on top of that, we always do better against better opposition, I believe, anyway. So I think fans are rightly optimistic about this game.
By the way, Alexander Allard has, I think, torn rotator cuff from yesterday at the gym, but still have to work. My goodness me. I hope you're all right. Barry says, hey, Paul, Mrs. Toon review on the men today. Well, she's out of bed. She's up. She's downstairs. She's got to go for a blood test this morning. and then we'll see how she is when she comes home. But she's got to really take things easy. But like I said, thank you for all your lovely messages. She has seen them, and it really does make her feel a lot better knowing that the whole Toon Review army is behind her. And hopefully within the next few weeks she'll get sorted. Now, Billy, he did talk about Joe Willock. He was asked about Joe Willock, and I found the answer very interesting because I don't think he sees Joe Willock as a Premier League starter yet, judging by what he said. That he is getting there, but obviously that horrific hamstring injury he had, and then obviously he went on to say that injury actually, was the reason that other parts of his body were starting to, pick up little niggles here and there because of that. So it's very, it's been very serious for Joe Willock. But I think what we saw on Wednesday was definitely a Joe Willock kind of returning back to the one we know and love.
Yeah, I mean, he's a massive asset if we get him on form and fit. And Eddie Howe's well aware of that. You can tell by his kind of response to the question that he's got plenty of love and respect for Joe Willock.
Yeah.
And a fit Joe Willock, as he knows, is a monster to deal with. He's unplayable on his day.
Yeah.
And whether I don't think he'll play tomorrow personally, but I think he'll come off the bench. But within 2 or 3 weeks, if he can maintain that level of fitness, that level of performance, then he might be pushing for a starting place, I think.
Yeah. I mean, he was asked about the left-hand side as well with Joe Linton. And, these are the questions that, they're starting to really pick up on what the fans are asking, which is good. And he was asked about Joe Linton and saying, he played really well left wing. He played well in the middle. Eddie was asked where he thinks Joe Linton's best position is. And Eddie just couldn't clarify where his best position is because he was superb at left. He did say he was very good at left wing, which I don't know whether that indicates that maybe Joe Linton might start on the left tomorrow and bring in Longstaff in the middle.
Potentially. Yeah, potentially that could happen.
Because he also clarified that Gordon, although he prefers playing on the left, he doesn't complain when he goes on the right. He can play anywhere.
Yeah, he'll play anywhere. He's a fantastic, versatile player for us. So, yeah, he may play Joe Linton one and left. I just think that I'm not sure. I think they might need his physicality in the middle of the park tomorrow.
Yeah. Now, he did mention Gordon and Isak, Billy, which he says they both feel okay. We will assess how they feel today. 48 hours after the game, they both have had niggling injuries. So we'll make a decision today. We need to make sure whoever enters the pitch against Arsenal is in the best physical condition. So that's a little, a little bomb he's dropped there on because obviously we know that Anthony Gordon had a groin strain, a slight groin strain. It looked okay on Wednesday. Isak, looked fine as far as we could see on the pitch. I didn't think there was a problem with Isak, but now he's got a niggling injury. And TalkSport were talking this morning, Billy, that who's going to come in and replace Isak. So I don't know whether they're expecting Isak not to play.
They're hoping more like.
But well, absolutely, yeah. They'd love Arsenal to destroy us, of course they would. But if, for example, Billy, the Gordon's out as well, if those two miss the game, surely Asula has to start.
Of course he does. Yeah, of course he does. And Harvey Barnes will probably come in and say, "Well, one of Murphy or Elmo on, I guess."
Fabulous. Unless he plays Barnes. I mean, he did mention Joe Linton, of course, who went to right wing back on Wednesday for a period of time and did well there. Maybe Barnes on the left, Joe on the right. He's Joe Linton can play anywhere for me. He's just fantastic. He's in fantastic. When he's in form, Billy, he can play anywhere, as we've seen, and he's that Joe Linton that we know is well and truly back.
Yeah, 100%. He's not just a battling man. He's got the attitude behind it as well. Never says die, does he? Yeah. And the fact he ran his socks off on Sunday and then played like he did on Wednesday speaks volumes for his recovery rate for me. His fitness and recovery rate must be absolutely out of this world.
Yep. Alexander says a groin strain is a tricky one because it's a sensitive spot and can easily be aggravated. Well, yeah. As we know with that player we looked at the other day, Billy, on the transfer show, who seemed to have a few issues. Was it his
pubic bone, wasn't it? Something?
Pubic bone, yeah. I mean, obviously that's connected to the groin. I'm sure there's a song. I was going to say, there's a song in there somewhere, isn't there? But yeah, look, Gordon. I mean, he did come off, didn't he? He was substituted in the second half, so make of that what you will. I think both start tomorrow, Billy. I have a feeling Eddie's been a little bit, clever in his assessment of the players, and he's just keeping Arsenal guessing like he tends to do.
I think both will start. Yeah, I agree with you. There hasn't been that much calling. Isak didn't limp off, nor did Gordon. I thought they both had good games on Wednesday. I think they'll both play tomorrow.
Now, he said the players had a rest yesterday, so they didn't actually train at all yesterday. He said the main training session regarding the Arsenal game is today. So only one training session, and he was asked about Arsenal set pieces as well, wasn't he, about how good they are, and how have you prepared for that? And he just turned around and said, no, not yet, but we will today. But Arsenal have this reputation, don't they, of these set pieces, Billy, and how well they conduct these set pieces, which is annoying for me because I'd love us to be able to do that. But he wasn't asked about our set pieces. He was basically asked about the Arsenal set piece and how they cope with that.
Yeah, they're very dangerous from them. I said it last night. They're one of the best in the league at them, if not the best.
Yeah,
and they've scored. Gabriel scored 2 or 3 goals this year from set pieces. And that's why I think that Mr. Byrne will be playing tomorrow, and I think he kind of alluded to that as well with what he was saying. So.
Yeah, well, he was asked about Lloyd Kelly, wasn't he? And he got a little, the quote that he made that sort of made me realise that it's probably going to be Dan Burn starting tomorrow was the fact that he said Lloyd is still on his process fitting into this new side.
Yeah.
Fitting into the new club, he said, I think. So, that Billy indicates to me who's going to start.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be Dan Burn. It's not just that. They've got to try and keep the Arsenal players from getting around Pope, because we know Pope flaps. If I was an opposing manager or coach, I'd be firing balls on Pope and corners and stuff. Yeah, so he needs to be on his game tomorrow and catch the ball, not just punch it 3 inches out. So lots of things to kind of be wary of with Arsenal, physically and for set pieces. Yeah, that's the biggest one for me.
Well, we can see it's always a very fiery encounter, isn't it? The Arsenal match, Billy. I mean, I don't think there's any direct rivalry there, but it does seem to be a very tasty game when we play Arsenal, especially at St James's Park. And that was mentioned to Eddie, but I think Eddie's more concentrating on what we have to do. Players staying out of trouble. And, I did like the question about, Bruno and how he has to be a leader tomorrow and not get involved in any of the off the ball situations and lead by example for the rest of the team, of course. Now that for me doesn't take away what the likes of Joe Linton do, etc. But it's the silly things, isn't it, that, you've got to stay out of.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, Bruno did last season in the home game, didn't he? He was lucky he didn't get sent off, really. He assaulted. Was it Havertz he assaulted? Was it from behind? Or was it someone else? Or Jorginho, wasn't it?
Jorginho, yeah.
Jorginho, yeah. So, yeah.
He was very lucky that day, yeah.
He was lucky, but I mean, he was just kind of he was frustrated at the fact that the referee hadn't sent off Havertz for his disgusting challenge on Sean Longstaff.
Yeah, no protection.
No protection. So he thought he'd take the law into his own hands. And he hit the wrong bloke, but there you go. Bruno can't be like that tomorrow.
No. Niall says, oh my God, you play so well. And then you don't get rewarded. Listen, Niall, I agree with you 100%, and I think Billy does as well. There is players that stood up to the plate on Wednesday, and certain players haven't stood up to the plate in the Premier League. And
Kenny might still play, but it might be a left back.
Yeah. Look, if he drops Lewis Hall, I think he needs shooting, Billy, to be honest, because Lewis Hall has been in inspiring form. And even you could mention the set pieces saying, the extra height we get with Kelly, but Lewis Hall's not bad in the air.
No, he's
not. He hasn't. He's a good judge of the ball. And I wonder if that's been a little bit of Kieran Trippier influence on Lewis Hall. Playing a full-back position, reading the ball, judging when you jump for headers, etc. And not even jump, even if you jump for a header and you're not going to win it, just that little nudge in the forward, Billy, that we see so often, just to put him off.
Yes, he does. He's brilliant at that. He doesn't win the ball, but he makes sure that the bloke that's jumping against him doesn't win it either. And, of course, Lewis Hall gives us so much more going forward. And one-on-one with Sacco, would I rather have? I don't think there's much in it, to be honest. So
Yeah.
I think Hall's pros outweigh his cons, and I'm not sure Kelly's do. Just have him in for set pieces from left back. That is.
Yeah. Atticus says his answer to the second last question tells me he's going to bench Bruno again.
Atticus doesn't like Bruno.
No. Atticus, Bruno will be playing tomorrow. He was asked the question about where people play, and he was asked about Tonali's position as well, which was good. We wanted to know that where he thinks Tonali can play the best. I think Tonali, again, Eddie sees Tonali as the further forward player to Bruno. He did mention that Bruno can play further forward and has had a very successful time playing there, but I think he trusts Bruno a little bit more in that position.
I'm not sure. I think they can be fluid. I think they can kind of mix and match. And
I think they can as well, but just what Eddie,
I think
the answer Eddie gave
in the 6 because he's got more pace to get back if needs be.
Yeah,
and Bruno, we've seen him trying to get back, but he sometimes looks like he's running in treacle, doesn't he?
He does.
And also, I believe that Bruno's a slightly bit more creative. Tonali's all the good stuff, but I think Bruno's got a little bit more some magic about him.
I think Eddie alluded to that, Billy, in his answer.
I think he will. I think he will play Bruno.
Tonali does all the sort of stuff that you don't necessarily get praised for and stuff like that, and he does it brilliantly well. So I think he did allude to that. Shane says, what about Isak jumping for the ball? We're not getting into that again. Dear God, no. Will Kraft still keep his place? I think he should. Well, he was asked about Emil Kraft, of course. The answer he gave was quite funny, really, because he was asked on, he said, he's just an unassuming, brilliant professional. Really hardworking, so dependable. When you meet him, you instantly like him. He's a very, very good player and underrated by the outside world. Internally, we love him, and you can see his qualities. We really value him. And then, of course, he went on to speak about what Emil Kraft does off the pitch as well, Billy. And he said he's one of these players that is a huge influence in the dressing room off the pitch. And he alluded to the likes of Richie and Dummett and those kind of players as well, who didn't play very often, but they were massive behind the scenes. That he sees Emil as one of them as well. I'm not sure where I gauge on him starting tomorrow. I'd like to see him get the nod ahead of Livramento. I think he's in better form than Tino, but I'm not sure, Billy. I think he's going to go back to his old trusted players again.
Yeah, I mean, he could even play him at centre-back, couldn't he, and drop share if he wanted to.
Well, he did say he'd been excellent at centre-back as well.
So, I mean, there's more than one position he can play. He kind of really praised him as well, didn't he? He said you need players in your squad that understand they're not going to be playing week in, week out, and don't kick up a fuss about it. Kraft's one of those players, and he's just a fantastic professional. And given the fact when he first came to us, we thought it was absolutely dreadful. We couldn't understand how he was playing international football. Well, since Eddie Howe's come, he's been absolutely phenomenal.
He was nicknamed Krafu, wasn't he, by early doors? But that was a piss take because he was terrible.
Crap. Yeah.
But now we actually call him Krafu because he's absolutely he's brilliant. I really like this comment from Magpies Unite. Tonali plays the David Batty role, which is so crucial. And I see where he's going with that, Billy. Because certainly what we've seen from Tonali is he's not afraid to get stuck in. He's not afraid to mix it up. And win the ball. And I think Tonali deserves a lot of credit for that. Of course, he was our viewers' player of the match on the show last night. He just, the way he glides around the pitch and does everything the right way.
Yeah, he's probably got a little bit more to his game than Bats had. Quicker, probably more forward thinking. Batty just won the ball, laid it off to someone who could do things with it. But Batty
let's not forget Batty's goal from the halfway line, Billy.
Batty knew his limitations, didn't he? He was a fantastic player.
I would love a David Batty player. Honestly, just brilliant.
I think any club in England would have Man City.
He was one of them players, Billy, that was apparently an absolute mouse off the pitch. Didn't get involved in anything.
Hated football. Hated it.
Yeah, but he just hated the limelight, didn't he? But then on the pitch, just incredible. Absolutely incredible player.
Apparently, he drives around in a battered old mini maestro or something. He just got no.
He didn't care, did he?
Airs and graces at all.
Yeah, he didn't care. Daniel says, "I hope Havertz has an off game. He's really kicked on." Yeah, he has improved. I did think he was I didn't think much of him, if I was openly honest. I didn't think he was great for Chelsea, and I didn't think he had a great start at Arsenal. But there seemed to be playing towards his strengths now, Billy, which is something that we maybe will be practicing on today if Eddie's sort of talking about, going out there and practicing for the Arsenal game today. That will be something he'll be aware of.
The key for me is to wind him up, not give him concentrate on football, because he has got that in him. He'll try it himself. He tries to wind other players up. If you can get your revenge in first, then I think you can put him off his game and maybe even get him sent off if the referee's got any brains about him and has got the red cards in his pocket. He's a great player. He's a good player. He's slow. He's a great finisher. He finds space fantastically well. A clever player, but he's an absolute dick, isn't he? So I can't stand it.
Well, he is. I mean, there's twice I can think of, one for Chelsea, one for Arsenal. He should have been sent off at St James's.
Yeah.
Alexander says, Tonali reminds me of Pirlo, always getting stuck in and minds his own business. If he ends up having a career like Pirlo at Newcastle, hey, what a player we got, Billy.
Yeah, he's a fantastic.
I mean, different class, isn't he, Pirlo? Or he was. Mike says, do you think Asula will get a chance to start or Isak to start with Asula on the bench?
If Isak's fit, start.
Yeah. We tried the shithousery against Havertz. Get him sent off. Can't stand him, says Tangy. I mean, he does like to get involved, and he is. But the thing is with Havertz, Billy, he's very. I know he's a little rat, but he's good at what he does because
he is.
He doesn't make it obvious. It's very difficult to VAR to pick things up. Yes, the tackle last year on Longstaff was shocking. However, he plays on the edge, and I think that's what's improved his game this season. He's certainly, we've got to keep an eye on. Claire says the problem with Eddie is we could be playing Ipswich tomorrow, and Eddie would still revert back, Mr. Predictable with the league. I mean, where do we stand on that, Billy? Because obviously, if he does go back to the players that haven't quite done it in the Premier League, and we lose tomorrow, and we lose heavily, is the pressure back on him? Because
I believe so.
The league table will look dreadful.
Yes, I believe so. Because we just had a fantastic performance from. I know 3 days late you're playing again, and Arsenal virtually rested their whole 11 for their game against Preston. But if he changes the side and brings players in that haven't been playing well, one of them didn't play well on Wednesday when he came on.
Yeah,
but he's got the excuse, hasn't he? It's horses for courses. He'll say set pieces, long balls. It's Dan Burns. It's what Dan Burns' alley. So that's his excuse.
And the thing is, though, Billy, we've got another week before the Forest game, of course.
Yeah.
And then the international break.
And of course, the Forest game, he'll have Chris Wood on, so who's going to play then?
Gee, Dan Burn, Billy?
Although I've said that, Dan Burn and Dubravka was behind him last year, so it was a bit different, I guess. So,
yeah, but Chris Wood's a different player because Nottingham Forest play to his strengths.
Yeah, Premier League Player of the Month this year.
Well, do you know what, Billy? Well done to him as well. Absolutely well done to him. Because
that's not the biggest shock. Matt Salles is also one of the nominees.
Well, we'll overwrite that. But seriously, Chris Wood, we hammered him, didn't we? Let's be fair, we hammered him. But it seems to me like he's gone to Forest and thought, right, Forest are playing the way he likes, and he's doing it again as he did for Leeds. He looks like he's trimmed down a little bit as well, Chris Wood. He's not as sort of bulky there, I say. He's maybe lost a couple of pounds and he looks a little bit quicker. So for me, well done to him because he took a lot of flack at Newcastle and he's gone to prove himself and he's doing it.
Yeah, but he didn't suit our system, did he?
No, not at all. Not at all.
That size, he didn't really hold the ball up. It was bouncing off him left, right, and centre like a pinball machine. He's modified that a bit for Forest. But they do play off him, and he brings the wings into play, and he's finishing one at the minute. So you've got to give him credit.
Well, that's next week, and that's not going to be an easy game either.
No.
Connor, thank you for your super chat. Burn and share start form means nothing. Well, all this crap that managers come out with saying that we're looking for performances. If he just changed the team up for cup games and he says players have got to prove themselves, are they good enough to get a start? Well, there was a few of them proved that on Wednesday. Certainly Lloyd Kelly proved to me that he deserves a start, and Emil Kraft is in better form than Livramento. I'm not saying he's a better player than Tino, but as right now states, Billy, he's in better form.
100%. He's been excellent every game he's played this year. Let's not forget that when he was playing at centre back to cover shares sending off, we didn't lose. It was he played really well. I wonder if there's a case to be made that he plays Burn and Kelly at centre back tomorrow.
Do you think he'd honestly leave Cher out?
Well, I think Kelly's better in the air than Cher. He's certainly quicker.
Well, Cher's not in form. Cher's not in form. I mean, yeah, he did play a little bit better in the second half on Wednesday, but he's not in great form as Fabian Cher, Billy.
No, and I think he possibly could need a rest. He's since the sending off and his ban, he's played every game, hasn't he? So give Cher a rest. Play Kelly and Burn at centre back. I know stats I would say, but they're both left-footed. Yeah. So what?
Yeah, I don't think that matters either. I think if you're a professional footballer and you're centre back, you can play that quite easily. Yvonne says sometimes I think Sandro and Bruno get in each other's way, all play short balls to each other. Sandro had more room to play his trade or to ply his trade. Ply his trade? Yeah, man, ply his trade. Ply his trade on Wednesday. I agree with that, Billy. I think when you do see Bruno and Tonali, they are very close together on the pitch, and Tonali seemed to have a lot more freedom.
I was just thinking about that little roll ball back to each other they were doing on Wednesday. Did it about 15 times to each other.
15 1-2s, yeah, something like that.
Within a yard of each other. It's hilarious.
Yeah. It's a good point Yvonne makes, though, isn't it?
Yes, it is, yeah. They both really want to play in the same areas of the pitch, don't they?
Yeah.
And which in some ways it's good. They do get each other's way, but defensively sometimes it can be an advantage. But I don't know. I think the two of them with a Willock or a Longstaff. I mean, Joe Linton wide left. I quite like that. Yeah. Or Willock wide left.
Interesting point from Shane here. Did you see what Eddie said about Arsenal have recruited well and have harmonious relationships within the club? Is he alluding to his relationship with Mitchell?
It was an interesting comment, I've got to say, yeah.
I mean, look, I think that the fact that he went on to say about, he could have just said they've recruited well, but I was a little bit sort of ears pricked up when he said, they've got harmonious relationships within the club. And I'm kind of, ooh. No
director of football there is either.
Yeah. And I kind of thought, did he really have to mention the harmonious thing behind the scenes with Arsenal? He could have just said they recruited well. And it did make me ears prick up a little bit. Claire said, I drop Cher, needs to fight for his place. Tangy says he's getting too many silly yellow cards. Well, because he's timing his tackles wrong. And I don't know whether that's because he's slightly older now, Billy, and he's not as quick as he thinks he is. And especially the last two games, we've seen him where he's gone really to try and win a ball that we could all see that he's never going to win. One was obviously against Chelsea, the other at Stamford Bridge. And then again on Wednesday when he absolutely clattered. I can't remember who it was he clattered, but he got a yellow card for it.
Yeah, he's just making bad decisions. And, decisions that one cost us a goal and the other could have done. He actually caught the player this time, so the free kick was given. Mm-hmm. But the one on Sunday literally cost us a goal. His discipline isn't good enough for me. His attitude hasn't been good enough. He's making bad decisions after bad decision. He's getting yellow carded every game, it seems, at the minute. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be a matter of time for his banned anyway. So maybe rest him and give Kelly a game. Him and Boone together. That might work. I mean, I think Kelly's better in the air than Cher. So I think for some set pieces alone, if he's playing Dan Burn specifically for set pieces, then why not go the whole hog and play Kelly and Burn?
Yeah. Well, further on Arsenal, Eddie said they're a very good team with a very good manager. Now we play one of the most consistent teams in the Premier League for the last couple of years. So the challenge for us is never easy. But we're at home. Arsenal have done very well this season. They are very good from set plays and a physical team. We need to be ready for that test. So I guess Eddie's going out and saying that we need to match the physicality, Billy, and he'd be right with that. But yes, but to a disciplined level.
Yes, absolutely. We're going to have to kind of battle to win the game tomorrow. Mm-hmm. That's where the game will be within the physical battle. Because they've both got creative players. We're both us and them. Yeah. And if they can't get the ball to them, then they're going to be kind of worthless. So, yeah, the physical battle is going to be massive. And discipline. We can't afford to give too many free kicks around the area. We can't afford to give too many corners away.
Not given how good they are on set pieces.
I mean, they could. They could give as many as they want away, but we obviously can't.
Yeah. Spike says, Eddie said they have to go and prove themselves, then does the opposite. Well, we'll see when the team's announced tomorrow. I have a feeling that we'll see some of the same sort of names in there. Now, he did talk about squad rotation, and he says it was good to see so many players performing well. It was good to be able to rotate some of the squad and see the strength and depth we have. We will pick a team for Saturday according to physical well-being and our opponent. So what did you make of that one?
Those that didn't play much Wednesday and have physical attributes to combat set pieces will be playing. Oh, dear me. He's a shooing, isn't he?
Of course, yes. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Darren Lee says, St. Mitchell arrived at the club. Steve Nixon not happy. He has put together a list of players to target, just not between Howe and Mitchell. Tangy says, last 2 yellow cards Share has got has been in first half as well. Then he backs off Palmer for Chelsea's second goal, frightened to tackle. That's a good point. That's a good point. Ashley says, definitely need to play Hall, but the guys that played gave their all in the cup game. If they need to be rested, fair enough. Would rather limit minutes than end up crocked like Wilson. Yeah, he's got to be careful. But as I say, we've got a week's rest till the Forest game, and I think he's got to bear that in mind as well. But Billy, would you like to know what he said about Callum Wilson?
Oh, no, because this is about I didn't see. I didn't get into it. Go and tell what did you say about Callum Wilson? 3 weeks.
Well, he says Callum is doing okay. He's building his load again. There was no real injury, but just a feeling in his body that he couldn't push as hard as he wanted. We'll see how he is, but probably with the 2-week gap, it's best to leave it. So we're not going to see Callum before the internet. So again, it's as back to he'll be back after the international break, Billy.
Well, of course it is. It was always going to be that way. And I don't think it would even be then. I think it'll be another 2 or 3 weeks after that. Because you'll see him on the bench.
He's going to be on the bench and then develop match fitness. We spoke about this last week, didn't we?
And then probably do himself in again, warm himself up or something. I don't know. Something will happen to him.
Nick says Burners cost us goals in the last 3 games he's played. Playing him over Kelly would be criminal.
He nearly cost one on Wednesday as well.
He did. I mean, I would have asked Eddie about that. I would have turned around and said, Eddie, Lloyd Kelly read the game so well on Wednesday, and then you bring Dan Burn on, and within a couple of minutes there was a chance. Do you think Lloyd Kelly's reading of the game is at a higher standard? It's a simple question to ask, just to see what the manager thinks.
And even if he slightly misreads, he's got the pace to get back. Mm-hmm. Whereas we've seen Dan Burn winning in custody trying to get back. So 100%. I'll agree with you.
Geordie Dan says, he said Callum is a figment of our imagination. He is the gold at the end of the rainbow, the promised land, the holy grail.
The thing they're searching for on Oak Island.
Yeah, absolutely. Incidentally, nothing was said about Matt Targett again. I mean, he's just vanished, Billy. He's literally just vanished.
Surely he hasn't flaked away that much.
Well, it seems like he has. Yeah. Who is Callum Wilson and Matt Targett? Are they in the stables with Shergar?
They are, and Lord Lucan's on top of
them. Alexander says, the amount of BS I hear about this, he doesn't want to be here. He wants to show up when he can, so he can leave. Asula would be ready to go off the bench and move on from Wilson. Lazy recovery. And Alexander knows what he's talking about.
He does, yeah. He does indeed.
I mean, the thing is, and this is going to sound really strange, Billy, all right? But you know what I'm like. When he said that about Wilson and felt that he couldn't push, I thought of a pregnant woman, right? I thought of a woman giving birth, and they can't turn around and say, I'm not going to push my body. I'm not going to push. They are in a very, very different environment, rightly so, but they push their body to the limits giving birth. And, and like Alexander's just said there, I find it a lazy recovery, given what some people in life go through. This guy's getting paid thousands of pounds and he just can't get fit.
We try to describe the injury. I mean, he couldn't put. Has he got dysentery? I don't know. He could have anything, couldn't he? It's a shock.
Yeah.
To be out of football for so long and then, we just don't feel right at the minute. You'd think you'd be busting the guts trying to get back, wouldn't you?
Well, exactly. I mean, that's the thing. We see a lot of players who are out injured, and they make a real battle. They battle with their own body to get back fit. And I'm sorry, but we have every right as fans to say that.
To be fair to Wilson, in the past he has, but ever since that virus he got from the World Cup, I don't think he's been as anywhere
you keep
near
mentioning
as
that. Yeah, he just doesn't. But he's at an age now, Billy, where the rigors of football are taking its toll, and it happens. Sometimes it happens to players in their early 30s. Some players can go on and on and on, like we're seeing with Ronaldo and Messi, etc. They keep going. Yes, they're not playing in the most competitive leagues in the world now, but they're still going. Now, whether Callum looks at somewhere like the US or Saudi to go and earn a big payday to finish his career, that's up to him. But for us as fans, I think all the fans now are frustrated because he was supposed to be back at the start of the season. Miss a couple of the games at the start and then be back. And it's just dragging on and on and on and on. And when I see quotes like he didn't feel like he could push or whatever, I'm thinking, come on, how many excuses are we going to get here? It wasn't an injury; he just couldn't push. I'm sorry.
Is it mental? Then is it a mental thing with him? I don't know. I really don't know.
There's only him that can turn around and say to the physios, "I don't feel like I can do that." Because the physios aren't going to turn around and say, "Oh, we don't feel Callum can push." So what is the issue? Is it Callum? And that's what's given the fans the suggestion that he just doesn't want to play and he wants to leave in January. And you can't blame fans for saying that.
He's disappointed he wasn't allowed to leave last January. I think that
he was gutted. He made that public, wasn't he?
I mean, he had a crux of it. He wanted to go to Atletico Madrid. Maybe we should have sold to Atletico Madrid, truth be told, looking at what we've got now in the hindsight.
In hindsight's a wonderful thing at times, isn't it? Jimmy Barr, thank you for your super chat. Sick note, Wilson. Shame because we've had more points in the bag if available. Pray Howe looks at what worked in the cup and gives them a crack. And Jimmy's also gone on to gift 5 Toon Review memberships as well. So thank you very much for your kindness, Jimmy. Really appreciate that, buddy. Claire says Asula needs more minutes. Then he has to push on faster to be second striker. Callum Wilson will get injured by the penalty when he signs elsewhere, says Richard.
Pen, not penalty.
By the penalty, yeah. That's what I meant to say, Billy. Tom says, I don't understand why we didn't let Wilson go to Atletico last year, to be honest. Could have saved us from letting Anderson or Minte go too. That's a very good point.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree.
I mean, how many games has Wilson played since that Atletico bid? 4?
I think if we'd have sold Wilson last January, though, we'd have definitely needed another striker because at that time, remember, didn't have a Asula, did we? So they've had to spend it there and then anyway. So I'm not so sure.
Yeah. Scott makes an excellent point here. As an ex-pro rugby player and a bodybuilder, Wilson's excuses are shocking. Man up. Well, as an ex-ice hockey player, I'll say the same thing. You look at some different sports around the world and you see these players, battered and bruised, but they will still go out on the pitch or they'll still go out on the ice. I mean, Billy, these ice hockey teams in the NHL and stuff, they play 3 or 4 times a week. And yeah, obviously they come on and off the ice for shifts during the game, but it's a brutal game, right? And you do get battered and bruised. And these players do everything. Some players, I've seen a player play with a broken ankle. He had a bone broke in his ankle, strapped it up, went out and played. These guys are machines, as the rugby players are. The rugby players, I mean, they don't have any padding, most of them either, and they get battered and they get trod on. Honestly, it's crazy to think. And Wilson is frightened of pushing his body. I can't excuse him. The excuses are just becoming a joke.
It's hard to. And I said he's threw under the bus and he's kind of misspoke. I can't imagine that. I mean, the fact of the matter is we haven't seen him since the Japan tour. He had a bad injury before that when he had his breastbone removed from his muscle. He came back from that for Japan, went to Japan, came back. Then he had an operation on his back, we heard, to try to alleviate any more hamstring injuries. And then since then, he hasn't been able to push. So,
yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, Collux makes a good point here. It honestly might be down to mental health.
Could be.
I agree with you both, but mental health stuff can be very difficult to deal with.
Yeah, could be like a cabin fever, just being used to injured all the time.
Yeah, I mean, we saw that with Willock as well. Willock was very he didn't look in his own mind that he could push himself, when he first came back. Now it's a different kettle of fish. He's So maybe it is, but I think what I think Callum's mindset should be, Billy, is if it's going to go completely and it's not going to get any better, then that's just life. You know, how longer is he going to stay out of the game? Because of his age, the longer he's out of the game, the harder it is to get back and the harder it is to get match fit again. So if it is a mental health thing, somebody has got to try and help Callum get over that and say, right, you know, Callum, just go out there and push it. If it happens, it happens. And that is just life. You know, your body is telling you something and you have to start listening to your body. You know,
he's got another option. He can always retire. You know, if he feels he can't put it in anymore, just retire.
But that might be the mental health thing about the retirement, Billy. And you know,
exactly.
I mean, look, I think Callum's obviously, you know, he's doing podcasts and things like that. I think he's pretty much set up for life anyway. But it is difficult for a footballer when they do, or any sportsman, to stop playing the game and the regular routines. But I mean, what's Callum's routine been throughout all this injury? You know,
ever.
Crazy. Richard Hooker, welcome to the Toon Review Members Club. Thank you very much for signing up and for your ongoing support. Really do appreciate that, guys. Jimmy says, a pleasure, lads. Best channel on YouTube by a Country Mile Boys and Lady Sam. Thank you, Jimmy. Much appreciated, my friend. Mike says, I think the club wants him to be fit for Saudi move in January. Probably got another one lined up for incoming. Yeah, I mean, it said that he contracted COVID a couple of years ago. Maybe it's come back or is still affecting him. I mean, we've mentioned the long COVID and, of course, the illness he got in Qatar, Billy, as well. You know, so he has had illnesses, but I'll keep reverting to, your body tells you when your time's up. And you cannot argue with that because that is just biology. It's nature. It's how life runs. And if his body is saying, time's up, Callum, he's got to listen.
Yeah. It's hard, though, isn't it, for professional football?
Oh, God,
been earning, I don't know, whatever wage he's on, 60k a week for how long? Yeah, it's tough. It's tough to accept that's not going to be coming in anymore. You're never going to get that kind of job again, earning 60k a week. Certainly not doing something you love.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's got to be hard to let go of that. However, he should have had enough time to kind of compose himself with it, if you like. You know, he's been injured that much over the past 10 years.
Yeah.
Ridiculous, really.
Yeah. K-Max says, as an ex-Aussie rules player, now there's a contact sport as well. Wilson's excuses are shite. Maybe hanging around until January transfer window. Andy says 80 grand a week he should play. Yeah. I mean, look, I just think the excuses are running out. You know what I mean? I genuinely think
if he went on the pitch and played and was absolute shite and couldn't walk or run or whatever, you're going to kick up a stink about it. So I'd much rather he admit that he's not ready to play than try and play when he's not.
Yeah.
So, you know, you've got to look at it both ways, really.
Ashley says, guys, can I ask, if Wilson comes back within the next few weeks and sticks in 10+ goals, will everyone still give him so much stick?
Of course not.
No, but it's not stick we're giving him, Ashley. I've got nothing against Callum Wilson as a person. We're just trying to go down the sort of scientific route about his body shutting down. You know, his body is telling him that he can't cope with the rigors of what he's been used to in his earlier days. That it is now, when you get injured, as you get older, injuries take much longer to heal, as we know. But that's just life. It's the way the body works. And, you know, I don't want Callum to come back and the last thing I want is Callum to come back and then get injured again straight away, because that will destroy the man. And you talk about mental health. You know, if he is wanting to get back, then, you know, that will destroy him. And that's what you've got to be careful of. You know, there's all sorts going around. Does he want to leave? I think personally he probably does. As Billy alluded to before, the move to Atletico breaking down last January, I think he's still a little bit bitter about that. We'll never know for certain, but at the same time, we can only speculate. And, you know, I just think his body's shutting down.
Plus, Callum Wilson's never going to be happy being second choice, and he is second choice. There's no doubt about that. And for him to kind of, you know, to get that into his head that he is second choice, it's going to be hard for him to take. And, yeah, I'll think he'll be on his way at some point, but I'm not sure he'll go long haul, if I'm perfectly honest. I think Atletico Madrid would have been perfect for him. Probably wouldn't have been perfect for Atletico Madrid, but would have been perfect for him because it's just not far away, is it?
Yeah. Well, I think, Billy, as well, talking about getting 10 goals, what we've been saying is when he's eventually fit enough to be on the bench, he's going to be on the bench for a few games.
Yeah.
And then he's got to get into the side.
Yeah.
Because if Isak starts banging in the goals, Wilson is not going to play it. He's not going to be first choice. So
no,
I think it will be very
difficult get certain
for him
games. It does enable Eddie to rest Isak.
Yeah.
Playing him week in, week out. If he's got a fit Callum and a fit Alex, we don't know, it's never happened. But if we have a fit Callum and a fit Alex at the same time, and they're both scoring goals, it's a fantastic position to be in because you can rest then.
I mean, the thing is, Billy, we've said many times that a fit Callum Wilson banging in the goals, of course we want that. Of course we want that. But
I'm not sure we're going to see that for Callum Wilson again, though. I'll be perfectly honest. I don't think we're going to see that player again. Each year he seems to have kind of slowed down a wee bit, even without injuries. So, with the extra injuries on top, I'm not sure we're going to see the same Callum Wilson again.
I mean, now says he's been amazing when he's been available for us, but unfortunately, his injury, and he's had some horror injuries, guys. This is what we're alluding to. It's not just like he's had an injury in the summer. He's had some horrific injuries, Callum Wilson. Ones that have kept him out for a long time. And it's so difficult once you pass that 30 threshold for injuries to quickly heal again. Very difficult. And if the serious injuries, you've got a problem. You've got a big problem.
If you've got the 27-year-old, 28-year-old Callum Wilson coming in to replace Isak for fit, then you'll get your 10 goals. But unfortunately, now he's 31, 32 on the back of more injuries. I just don't see it personally.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, Newcastle have announced this morning that Lewis Hall is the Seller Player of the Month for October.
Quite rightly too.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, finally, Billy, Eddie spoke about the win over Arsenal last season. He says, I do remember it being a great atmosphere, very physical and competitive game. Two teams really going at it. It was a really good advert for the Premier League. Positive emotions from that game. And he was asked about Arteta, of course, and Arteta's reaction to that game and what Eddie thought of his, it was pathetic, Arteta, the way he went on. Well, Arsenal Football Club as a whole, including their fans, were an absolute embarrassment to football, the way they carried on over that game. It might have been a bad decision saying the ball was still in play, but move on. Everybody's been struck down by bad decisions before. Just because you're Arsenal, it doesn't mean that you are not going to get away with any bad decisions. That went against you. Fair enough. Move on. But it went on for months, absolute months. It was embarrassing.
Well, that's the level of decision to go against them. They had to go about that one decision or two or three decisions, whatever it was, for months and months because there were no others. And then Declan Rice got sent off, and that's kind of died off a little bit now. But that happened last year to us. So what we're being victimised here. Two things in a year. Yeah, I wish we could be victimised twice a year.
Well, exactly. But there you go. That is the press conference reaction done and dusted for this morning, guys. Don't forget tonight, 7:00 is TTR Friday. We'll have some more football talk. We'll have a bit of banter, of course, and of course, welcome you guys on the show and get some comments from you guys about Newcastle United, about the Carabao Cup, about the Premier League. Who will Eddie start tomorrow? We'll get all your feelings on that as well. So again, you don't need your mic, you don't need your camera. Sorry for it. Just use your microphone if you don't want to come on camera. Plenty of people do that and have a chat with us about the game. But thank you very much for watching, guys. Thank you for your super chats and memberships. And of course, thank you to the mods and Billy. And we will be back at 7:00 tonight. But in the meantime, have a fantastic Friday, folks. And we will see you again at 7:00. Take care.
How are the lads and lasses?
Come back and check out some green.